The drama surrounding the Cleveland Browns has reached a level of chaos that transcends football. What unfolded on Sunday night wasn't just a loss to the Detroit Lions, it was a broadcast catastrophe, a mass fan rebellion, and an organizational implosion so severe that league executives, sponsors, and media networks are now circling like vultures. For the Browns, it wasn't only about the scoreboard. It was about the future of their franchise credibility, their national relevance, and perhaps even the NFL's larger business model. At kickoff, the numbers looked promising. The audience tuned in with hope, bracing for the return of Shedeur, the electric young quarterback whose playmaking had already begun to transform Cleveland into must-watch television. But then came the announcement that Joe Flacco, the aging veteran, would once again start under center, while Sanders remained inexplicably sidelined. That single decision detonated like a bomb across the fanbase. Within minutes, Nielsen data revealed that nearly 40% of viewers abandoned the broadcast. Not just a slow fade, but a wholesale exodus, fans switching off televisions, canceling subscriptions, even documenting the exact moment they tuned out. Social media lit up with fury. Hashtags like #PlayShedeur and #FiStefanski dominated the night, while TikTok creators turned their boycotts into viral content with millions of views. One furious fan tweeted, "The Browns without Shedeur are unwatchable. This isn't football, it's malpractice." Another showed proof of canceling their NFL Game Pass, refusing to watch Joe Flacco manage games into oblivion, while the franchise's future sat helplessly on the bench. These weren't casual fans bailing. This was the heart of Cleveland's loyal core, people who had endured decades of quarterback disasters and still showed up every Sunday. Their exit wasn't just frustration. It was abandonment. Meanwhile, the game itself was a disaster. Flacco played with the same predictable conservatism that had doomed him before: endless checkdowns, lifeless drives, punts, and field goals. Against Detroit's aggressive defense, it was no contest. By halftime, the Lions had built an insurmountable lead. While Detroit's quarterback energized the field with highlight plays, Flacco drained the energy out of Cleveland's offense. Viewership bled out as the second half dragged on, with reports showing that fans weren't even switching to other games. They were abandoning football altogether in favor of Netflix and YouTube. For the NFL, that was the nightmare scenario. Kevin Stefanski's post-game press conference only deepened the wound. When asked why Sanders was benched despite the catastrophe, his robotic answer, "Joe gives us the best opportunity to win," was met with outrage. Journalists pressed him about the 40% viewership collapse, about the fan rebellion, about the cries for refunds. He deflected, awkward and unconvincing, his authority visibly crumbling. One ESPN analyst didn't mince words. "Kevin's not just losing games, he's costing the league money. That's unforgivable." The fallout was swift. League executives reportedly convened an emergency meeting the following morning. The NFL might publicly claim neutrality in team decisions, but behind the scenes, pressure mounted. After all, the league is an entertainment empire first, and Sanders was ratings gold, a generational star whose presence drew demographics that advertisers craved. Sponsors who had invested millions into campaigns around Sanders began demanding answers. When he's benched, one marketing executive admitted, "Our entire strategy collapses." Even network partners were furious. Billions had been spent securing broadcasting rights under the assumption of consistent viewership. Now, with Cleveland tanking national ratings, networks pushed for scheduling adjustments, hinting at pulling the Browns from future primetime slots. For the team, that would mean diminished exposure, fewer national showcases, and less leverage in sponsorships and recruiting. Inside the locker room, fractures began to spread. Veteran players, fully aware that television revenue funds salaries, were reportedly fuming. One offensive lineman said bluntly in a closed-door meeting, "We're not just losing games, we're losing money, credibility, everything." Defensive captains vented that Sanders' absence forced them onto the field too often, leaving them exhausted and humiliated. And while Sanders himself remained publicly professional, practicing hard, avoiding media blow-ups, the cameras didn't lie. His sideline body language told the story, shaking his head, gesturing in frustration, silently fuming as the offense crumbled. Sources close to him suggested his camp was quietly evaluating whether Cleveland was the right environment for his career. What makes this debacle so destructive is the ripple effect. Elite draft prospects are reportedly eyeing Cleveland with suspicion, reconsidering whether they'd even want to play for a franchise that mismanages its talents so blatantly. Free agents may demand extra compensation just to consider the Browns. The organization's reputation, already scarred from years of dysfunction, now looks toxic again, just when Sanders had begun to restore hope. Ownership is trapped in an impossible position. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' owner, has been vocal in his support of Sanders and furious about the team's collapse. Yet firing Stefanski mid-season would add chaos and admit total failure. Reports suggest Haslam has already expressed private fury, recognizing that this is no longer just about wins and losses, it's about franchise value, sponsorship stability, and the city's economy. Local businesses, which thrive off game day revenue, are already feeling the downturn. Civic pride, tied so deeply to the Browns, is unraveling alongside their viewership.